Monica, I don't know what it is like back there on the ground anymore. I used to do what you were doing, and I remember it was fairly easy to gauge kind of the overall mood and sense of the fellow press corps out there. Where are they mentally? Let's set Biden aside. Where's the White House press corps on all of this right now?
Well, the White House press corps is seemingly trying to kind of cover its tracks because you know what a very hostile press corps looks like. You lived that experience, and you know if the roles were reversed, you would probably get silence from the press corps, while more liberal reporters like, say, Jim Acosta were instructed to bark at President Trump when he took the podium in the press briefing. But now it's seemingly kind of shifting to the White House press corps kind of silencing anybody dare question Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre when she tries to convince the American public, oh, President Biden had a cold or he was jet lagged, like you hear over and over again. But they're seemingly trying to cover their tracks. They're showing a little bit of concern, but clearly not enough concern where it actually, I guess, substantiates. I mean, we're not necessarily seeing the White House press corps asking the right questions. I mean, if President Biden had such a bad cold, why is he doing all of these events and shaking hands and coughing into his hand and, making these remarks at a Waffle House? So it's still a very interesting dynamic, but still a press corps and mood on the ground that really isn't being taken much seriously.
Well, it's very difficult for them to hide what they've been hiding all this time. I remember even in the first year of Joe Biden stepping into this role, there were moments, live coverage, where he would, as you so adeptly showed in the last clip, where he would just lose his thought process, forget what he was saying, and everyone would kind of look at each other like we were in a reality TV show. And yet, no one would report on that. So now, all of a sudden, they're pressing Karine Jean-Pierre, and she has to use this pathetic line of jet lag and a cold in need of cough drops. I find that unbelievable. Take us back to Wednesday, this very interesting Wednesday meeting with the governors. The meeting was framed as this emergency meeting. What have you heard about the fallout or the result of that high-profile Democrat meeting with the president?
Well, Chanel, I would also like to point out that 4 months ago, it was insulting to question the president's cognitive health. I mean, one of the reporters in the press briefing asked, why does President Biden rely so heavily on his note cards? And Karine Jean-Pierre looked at him as if, he was asking some kind of outlandish question, saying, oh, you're going to ask me about these note cards? And, it's important to ask these kinds of questions. Why does he rely so heavily on these note cards? And then you also had Karine Jean-Pierre in that radio interview when she was in North Carolina, and the radio host, rightly so, asked Karine Jean-Pierre, does the president have dementia? And she said, you know what, this is rude, this is pathetic, and then eventually ended up hanging up on that radio host. So that's all you really need to know about this administration.
Dismiss.
But to your point about Yeah, exactly. And to your point about these governors meeting, very shaky, very tense on the ground, very much, all up in the air at this point. It just seemingly that the White House has to kind of do this damage control, has to kind of, pretend or save face that everything's okay behind closed doors, nothing to see here. And of course you had Vice President Kamala Harris sitting in on those meetings as well. And now Monica, you have Hunter Biden sitting in on these meetings as well. This is just very bizarre.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live. OAN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OAN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One America News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN.com to easily sign up for OAN Live and stay informed.